Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. I was scrolling through Twitter and then, I was looking at long-term big picture views. And on Twitter, I ran across a couple of posts, I would say, a couple of graphs and charts that they wanted shared. So I'm sharing them on the channel, show you guys what the heck's going on. There's serious problems in the UK on their electricity prices. And same with natural gas prices in UK and overseas in Europe. They're going vertical. I mean, literally, they're going vertical. And we could see this out of other assets as well. It seems like when they break these big, long patterns, like lumber did it, steel has done it. There's a lot where they create these gigantic bases. They break that base and that resistance level, and then they just go vertical. Now, this is kind of on the ludicrous side, and I don't know if it's done yet, because it is. I don't know what's going to stop this. I don't know, but let's take a look. This is the UK base electricity futures, and we were going sideways here. We hit some previous records. We were basically bouncing off this area here, and now it's just gone vertical. It's at $481, and I'd say the average down here was around $40. This is a crazy, I mean, this is 10x on electricity prices. This is just really hard for me to grasp, because, I mean, everyone uses electricity prices, and this is absolutely massive. And I don't know if this is going to come around the world. I don't know if this is just, isolated to a few countries, but this is going to also have ramifications if electricity were to go up like this worldwide, because what's going to happen is literally companies will shut down because they can't make money off of some products, and then prices of products would go berserk because the electricity price, which goes to build or mine or whatever we're doing it with, using that electricity for, will create shortages in the future, smelting, all sorts of things. So it's very interesting to see that chart. Another chart, UK natural gas futures. I mean, this is still way up here, massively. And I mean, we went from a very low number all the way up to $400 and something almost. And it's just going vertical with cold weather. Absolutely crazy how much this is moving. And here is another chart. These are all from bad charts to let you guys know. This is Bitcoin versus gold in the blue line here, and then the Nasdaq versus gold. And they're very similarly, the movements are all the same. And I think at some point, and I can't tell you the exact point, that we're going to hit a peak and gold's going to start to outperform. It could be right in front of us right here, right now, that we're making that transition where gold's going to outperform the Nasdaq and potentially Bitcoin. Bitcoin could be grouped in with Nasdaq. I don't know. We haven't seen sell-offs in Bitcoin, so I can't tell you exactly how this is going to behave. But I do think that they're correlated, and we could see a potential outperformance of gold. And this is, I talked about this basing and then the big move higher. We're seeing it in other areas, and I want you guys to focus on the long term, because the long term, this is the play. We've got inflation out there. We get these setups where we break these long-term resistance lines. We come back and do a retest. We should be loading in on these retests and then a massive move higher later on. And we're seeing these setups all over the place. Here's deep yellow. Does that look familiar? This setup where you kind of bounce, you go into this, we'll call it dead period, and then we come up where the resistance is at. We sit at this resistance, we break to the upside, and if you were to look at the beginning of SM Energy, and I got it right here, this portion is off the page, you can't see it. This is the low down here. You come up, you kind of do this portion here, which is this guy here. We've got the move up higher, that's this guy right here. And we're in this sideways motion a little bit while longer before a big move comes, I think, in the big picture of uranium. So we're still, I think we got still a little bit more sideways movement on the big time frame. And then you're going to see a liftoff where this thing really starts to move and move a bunch higher. SM Energy's already gone through that cycle. That's this cycle here. And remember, these cycles are all humans interacting with each other. And those interactions repeat themselves over and over. They cycle over. So not only does the commodity cycle through, this is basically the top of the commodity cycle. This on the left-hand side is this over here on SM Energy. That's the cycle, so to speak. And now we're repeating it back over again. And we're at the beginning of this cycle, somewhere in this range right here is where uranium is. Now we're repeating the cycle also for SM Energy on the right-hand side. This movement in here of this descending wedge broke out. It's all smushed up, and it's actually the same pattern as this in here. It's just all smushed at the bottom here. And this guy right here is this guy right there. And this movement is this movement here. It's just on a downward motion because money was exiting oil. So we are actually more towards the right-hand side over here. We've actually gone through this cycle here, and that's the bottom there is this bottom here is analogous, and we're moving back up, and I think we're probably somewhere in this range in here. And a big move's about to come, which will probably bring us all the way up here somewhere to like $60, $70, $80, something like that, eventually. And then you're going to get another big kind of, it could be a small little pullback and then another large move higher, probably into new 52-week high territory in a few years. It's going to take some years, I think. Southern Copper, it's also doing that same thing. We had a long consolidation period. We broke out and we're doing a retest of the breakout on a big long-term perspective. That's the same as this pattern here. It's the same as this pattern over here. They're all similar. And the moves that happen afterwards can be massive. Lithium did the same thing. It was just completely flat. This one's tilted slightly upward. So that's Southern Copper. And all the I'm using this as a representation of the majority of copper companies. And I've got another copper company coming up, but they're all very similar. Here's Mosaic. This is a fertilizer company. You can see this downward trend breaking to the upside. Looks fantastic for a long-term hold. You can see a very long kind of sideways movement. If you were to draw a trend line through here, it broke, and it just broke out massively and performed quite well at the end of the last bull market of commodities. Looking at Archer Daniels Midland, just to give you a little bit different viewpoint, this is a agricultural company. We got the upper channel here. It looks like it's trying to break out of the upper side of the channel. This is one I do own. I do own a little bit in it. It's not a lot, but I'm just letting it ride. And we could break out here to the upside and have maybe a vertical move. Glencore, remember the downward trend lines, the sideways movement, and then the break, a retest, and then potential move higher. Glencore is also exhibiting that. This is I'll say a majority copper company, but also has some other minerals that it extracts. First Majestic Silver Corporation. We're looking for big patterns. Big patterns equal big moves. These are the cheetah patterns that I like to call. Downward movement, we broke out. We're doing a retest. And what do we do on the retests? Exactly, we buy them. We buy these retest moves. I have AG and EXK and all these companies. I did move some money around in my 401k to put even more exposure into precious metals right now. And I think these are excellent spots to be in. And I think we're going to see a massive move coming up in silver and gold companies. Hecla Mining. This is ridiculous, guys. This is over a 40-year downtrend pattern. Very rare to see a 40-year pattern. And when I say 40 years, what is this actually mimicking? This is almost mimicking interest rates, the 10-year interest rate, the yields. Yields were declining the entire time. What do you think is going to happen when yields and all this pressure builds where yields are going to want to go up? We could have this massive spike, just an absolute blowout spike if they can't control rates, because what's going to happen is you're going to have defaults. And when everyone's defaulting, where do you think they're going to run? They're going to run to probably precious metals. At least that's my take on it. Here's Wheaton Precious Metals, a royalty corporation. We've got our downtrend line on a big long-term perspective from the last bull market. We've broken that. We're in a consolidation pattern. This thing's going to break to the upside and probably run quite dramatically. I think a big move's coming. The first wave is here. The third wave is coming. When you're talking about Elliott wave, we've got Invesco Gold and Special Minerals Fund. This is a mutual fund. And remember those other patterns where we had a downtrend, a sideways move, and then we're going to see an up move. This is the sideways move where it goes sideways for a while. It breaks out a little bit, goes sideways. And basically, if you were to look, and I use SM Energy as my thing here, we're like in this area here, I think. And we're about to launch higher. Much, much, much higher. And go, you know, hundreds of percents higher potentially. I don't have the time frame. I'm not gonna, don't hold me to a time frame, but it's coming. It's working its way out. Now here's an article that I just snipped out. It says rampant inflation drives investors to commodity ETFs, and that's exactly what we were thinking is going to happen. Is investors will be driven into precious metals and commodity type of investments. It says commodity tracking ETFs have seen a surge in inflows this year as investors have moved to protect against rallying consumer prices. Money flows into energy-related funds also surged to a record high this year, according to data provider EPFR, cited by the Financial Times. U.S. consumer prices jumped by 6.8% for year ending November 2021, which was the biggest 12-month increase in nearly 40 years. What I'm trying to do is tie these things together. And I've got the commodity index here to leave you on this descending wedge pattern. We've broken to the upside. This could have a little bit of more of a return move. Don't be afraid. It could very well do it. And then we're going to see another surge impulse move higher like this first impulse. First, we'll come back, and then a big third wave is going to come, and then a last fifth wave. So it's coming. And what I'm trying to do is tie everything together. I'm trying to say we've got our big patterns that are developing. You can see them in all these companies. And I just grabbed random ones that I thought were a good representation of those sectors. So we looked at silver, we looked at some copper companies and precious metals companies. We looked at some energy companies, and they all have these long basing patterns. And when we break out of those big resistance lines where the basing pattern is to the upside, they're gonna move, and they're gonna be very large moves. We've seen that with electricity prices. We've seen it with lumber. We've seen it with steel. We've seen it with all these different commodities where they've got these big long basing patterns. They break, and then they just run like heck. So what I like to do is I like to position in some of these, like uranium and oil and natural gas and all these other ones, where you position in them, and then I just hold. And then when this big wave comes, when the money flow starts to come in, it's going to push these things massively higher. So the patterns are there. They're big old patterns, especially in some of these silver ones, like Hecla Mining there, over 40-year pattern there. When the money flows come in, it's going to be a substantially life-changing different when the money flows come into these sectors. So I'm prepared for it. I know we've got a lot of short-term selling and moving all around. It's been quite volatile. And I know a lot of people, it's probably affecting them. I can see that on the channel that the view count's down. People are probably not feeling as good about these sectors. And I just wanted to let you guys know, like, the setups are there. You just gotta go through these kind of long-term lulls, volatile moments, and pullbacks, which are completely, they're in. This is a part of investing. This is just part of it. It's not like anyone's right or wrong. You have to kind of endure some pullbacks. And I know some people, they can just breeze right through it, no big deal. Some people love these because they put and deploy more capital. That's what I do. I actually like the pullbacks. I've been buying a lot in platinum recently, physical platinum, to diversify my holdings because I have copious amounts of silver, guys. I have copious amounts. So I'm trying to level it out a little bit more. So I look at it as opportunities, and I know that some people don't have the same mindset as me. And I just want everybody to be successful with their investing. I really do. I want you to be successful. I want you to get where you want to go in life. So, I mean, if that's something that aligns with you, and I don't know why it wouldn't, give me a thumbs up for the content. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'd love to have you on the on the team, so to speak, or on the channel, where we can ride this commodity bull market up together. Not all instances will be easy. You're going to feel some gut-wrenching moments. I've kind of emotionally blocked that out of me. So I'm more focused and driven on the. I'm very focused on these ratio charts, on the charts, and also on the fundamentals of what's coming. We are going to have shortages of these materials in the market supply deficits, is what we call it, for the market balances between supply and demand out there. I think we're going to see it in all of the ones that I'm heavily invested in. That includes copper, a lot of the diversified mining companies, and a lot of the stuff that they hold. We're going to see it in energy. We're going to see it in all these different types of commodities. And I think we're going to see a huge opportunity with all of the money printing that's gone on and all the money that's rotated into stocks and bonds is going to rotate back out. So I'm very focused and driven on valuations and where this value is in the market and the market conditions. If we have the market conditions and the valuations right, then it's just a time thing. Now we're just waiting. And if we can accumulate in some of these assets longer, positive for me. So if you guys like the content, definitely give me a thumbs up. And thank you for listening. This is Finding Value.